Good morning, everyone. We're going to go through our study guide and be sure that you understand and feel prepared for Monday. All right, so here we go with number 1. So 132 cannot go into 1 or into 17 or into, can go into 171 once. We're going to subtract, borrow from your 7, it becomes a 6. Add a 1, 11 minus 2 is 9, 6 minus 3 is 3, and drop your 6. 132 goes into 396 3 times. If I come over here and multiply 132 times 3, I get exactly 396. So your quotient for number 1 should be 13. Number 2, we got a lot going on here with order of operations. So the first thing we're going to do is parentheses. 8 minus 4, copy the rest of the problem. 3 squared plus 2 times 4 divided by 4. Exponents comes after parentheses. 3 squared means 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 plus 2 times 4 divided by 4. Multiply and divide from left to right. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 plus 8 divided by 4. Whoops. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 9 plus 2 is 11. Number 3, first step, turn them into improper. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 4 is 31, and the denominator stays the same. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. Next step, keep, switch, flip. Divide by 3, divide by 3, multiply numerators, multiply denominators. 31 over 39. Number 4, cross cancel, multiply numerators, multiply denominators, 2/15. Number 5, they both have 2 digits, so it doesn't matter which number goes on the top. So 2 5/10 times 1 5/10. So that's 25, that's 10 plus 2 is 12. 0 placeholder, 1 times 5, 1 times 2, 5, 7, 3. I had 2 digits behind the decimal in the problem, so I need 2 digits behind the decimal in my answer. So my product is 3 75/100. Addition with decimals, line up your decimals. 1,625 4/10 plus 6 0/10. Drop your decimal. So that's 4, 11, 3, 6, and 1. So the sum is 1,631 4/10. Order of operations, division comes before addition. 9 68/100 divided by 0 32/100. Slide your decimal twice to the right. Slide your decimal twice to the right. 32 cannot go into 9. 32 goes into 96. Let's see what 32 times 3 is. 32 times 3. So that's 6. Perfect. 96. 0, 0, 8. 32 cannot go into 8. Put a 0. Add a 0 and drop it. 32 times 2 is 64. Borrow. add a 0, add a 0. So remember, this is when you can use the trick that I taught you. If you ignore the 0 and ignore that 2, drop the last digit off each number, how many times can 3 go into 16? How many times can 3 go into 16? And we all know that's 5. So let's try 32 times 5. And we get 160. All right, so your quotient for that first part is 30 and 25 hundredths, but remember sitting in front of that we had 6 plus. Line them up. 30 and 25 hundredths plus 6 and 0 hundredths is 36 and 25 hundredths. Find the greatest common factor and the least common multiple of 8 and 18. So those are even numbers. I'm going to divide them by 2. So that would be 4 and 9. So the greatest common factor is 2. Remember, for the least common multiple, you're going to highlight your L. So we're going to multiply 2 times 4 times 9. 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 times 9 is 72. Next page. A rectangular pool is 21 1/3 feet long and 13 1/2 feet wide. What is the area of the pool? 21 1/3 feet long, 13 1/2 feet wide. It's rectangular. What is the area? Okay, so if I have a pool, it's 21 1/3 feet long and 13 1/2 feet wide. We know that for a week now we've been doing base times height to find the area of a rectangle. So we're going to do 21 1/3 times 13 1/2. So first we're going to make them improper fractions. So 21 times 3 is 63, plus 1 is 64. So that's going to be 64 thirds. 13 times 2 is 26, plus 1 is 27. We're multiplying, we're not dividing, so we're not flipping anything. Now we're going to cross cancel. I'm going to choose a different color so you can see what I'm doing here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 64 divided by 2 is 32. So now I've got 32 times 9 on the top. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. So I've got 288, and then my denominators are 1 times 1. So that's 288 feet squared. The number 11 is composite because it has exactly one factor. Nope. Prime because it has only one factor. Nope. Neither prime or composite. Prime because it has exactly 2 factors. I think that's right. Composite because it has more than 2 factors. So if you look at that hundreds chart that I asked you to keep, where we highlighted all of our prime numbers, we highlighted 11 because the only 2 factors of 11 are 1 and 11. Number 11, a grocery store sells grapes for $1.99 per pound. You buy 4 pounds and pay with a $10 bill. How much change do you receive? Okay, let's read that again. There's a lot going on. A grocery store sells grapes for $1.99 per pound. You buy 4 pounds. You pay with a $10 bill. How much change do you receive? Okay, so I'm going to pay $1.99 once for the first pound. I'm going to pay $1.99 for the second pound. I'm going to pay $1.99 for the third pound, and I'm going to pay $1.99 for the fourth pound. So the way that we solve that is multiply the cost per pound times the number of pounds purchased. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 again plus 3 is 39. And 4 times 1 plus 3 is 7. You had 2 digits behind the decimal. You need 2 digits behind the decimal. So my bill is going to be $7.96. If I pay with a $10 bill, I'm going to subtract the cost of the grapes. Line up your decimals. $10 minus the cost of the grapes, $7.96. Come over and borrow from your 1. You've got 10, borrow, 10, borrow, and 10. So 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 9 is 0, and 9 minus 7 is 2. You're going to get $2.04 in change. In the expression 4x plus 8, what word describes the 4? What word describes the 4? So we should all know that's the coefficient. Remember, we've talked a lot in the last couple months about how the coefficient is the number attached to the variable. Showing substitution, evaluate the expression. We've also talked about this every day for months. Evaluate, we should all know, means solve, and an expression we should all know is a math problem. Showing substitution, evaluate the expression, solve the problem, 3y minus x, when y equals 4 and x equals 5. So remember, the substitution is going to be 3 times y, so 3 times 4 minus x minus 5. Evaluate, 3 times 4 is 12, minus 5 is 7. Create an expression, write a problem, for the following phrase. 16 more than the product of 6 and x. So I see a 16. I see more than the product of 6 and x. Okay, so 16, we know more than means plus. The product of means multiplication, 6 and x. Now remember, we're going to take that x out for times because we don't want to be confusing. Whoops. So I'm actually going to use a dot for my multiplication. So 16 plus 6 times x, or 6x plus 16. Which expression below is equivalent to the expression 4 times 2x minus 3? So first you're going to distribute. 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So we're looking for 8x minus 12, and that would be answer B. One interior angle of a triangle is 40 degrees. The other two angles are congruent or equal. What are the angle measures in degrees of the other two angles? One interior angle of a triangle is 40 degrees. The other two angles are congruent. What are the angle measures in degrees of the other two angles? So first of all, we need to understand, which we have not gotten to this chapter yet, that the sum of all degrees in any triangle is 180 degrees. So this angle plus this angle plus this angle will always total 180 degrees. So if I have a triangle, and if this angle is 40 degrees, and I'm trying to figure out what these two degrees equal, and I know they have the same measure, you first of all would subtract the known angle, which is 40, from the total degrees. So you know you've got 140 degrees to split between those two angles. So you would then divide 140 by 2. 2 times 7 is 14, and that would be 0. So the angle measures of the other two angles would have to be 70 degrees. Find the area of the composite shape. The area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height times the sum of your bases. And we all know the area of a rectangle is base times height. So first we're going to split our composite shape right here. On the top we have a trapezoid, and on the bottom we clearly have a rectangle. So first, as we always do in class, I'm going to divide my workspace into 2 parts. We always want to keep our work organized. So I'm going to solve for my trapezoid over here and my rectangle over here. Now the formula for the trapezoid has a lot going on, but we all know how to solve it because we all know how to substitute for variables. So looking at the trapezoid, so I'm going to highlight that in green. Okay, so right now I'm focused on this figure. So looking at the trapezoid, the height is 8. So equals, sorry. So I'm going to substitute 8 for my height. Base 1 is 6. Base 2 is 9. Half, sorry, messing up here. So 1/2 of 8 is 4, and 6 plus 9 is 15. 4 times 15 is 60, so that would be 60 meters squared. So I know this is 60. For my rectangle, I'm going to do base times height. So I'm going to do 9 times 7. And we know 9 times 7 is 63, so that would be 63 meters squared. So if the trapezoid is 60 meters squared and the rectangle is 63 meters squared, and now I'm supposed to find the area of the entire composite figure, I'm going to add 60 plus 63. So the total area is 123 meters squared. All right, 2 more, we're almost there. Draw the polygon with the following vertices. So we talked about this a few weeks ago on our bell work. The first coordinate is always your x coordinate. The second is your y. The first is your x, the second is your y. The first is your x, the second is your y. Now, what am I talking about when I'm saying that? If you look down at your grid, your x-axis is the horizontal axis. Your y-axis is the vertical. So when I see the ordered pair 3, 1, that means move over to 3 on your x and move up to 1 on your y. Now where those 2 lines meet is where you're going to put your point. Anytime you're asked to label, if you're given a letter, we're going to label that point A. All right, moving on to point 5, 4. So we're going to move over to 5 on the x and up to 4 on the y. And where those 2 lines intersect, you're going to put point B. Last one, point 1, 2. We're going to move over to 1 on the x-axis. We're going to move up to 2 on the y-axis. Where those 2 lines intersect, we'll label point C. Now notice that it says draw the polygon. So if you have to draw the polygon, remember a polygon is a triangle, a square, a trapezoid, a parallelogram, a rhombus, etc. So draw the polygon means connect the points together so that you have a polygon in your coordinate plane. So there we clearly see a triangle. Last one, find the area of the composite shape. The area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height, which we all know, and the area of the rectangle is base times height. So first we're going to divide this. Now, I know in class some of you were getting confused by this space over here. This is not part of the composite shape. That is not part of the shape. We're only looking at the shaded part. So the whole composite shape that we're trying to find is what I'm outlining in pink. All right, so I'm going to divide my workspace. I'm going to solve for my triangle on the left and my rectangle on the right. So the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height, and my rectangle is base times height. So looking at your triangle, here's the base that I'm highlighting in green. There's no measurement given, but we know that opposite sides of a rectangle are congruent. So if you look at the bottom here and it says the bottom of that rectangle is 10 inches, then the top of the rectangle has to be 10 inches as well. So now I know the base of my triangle is 10, and then I see my height for the triangle over here is 6. Ten times 6 is 60, and half of 60 is 30. So that would be 30 inches squared. The rectangle is clearly labeled 10 for the base and 8 for the height. So that is 80 inches squared. So to find the total area, we're going to take the area of the triangle plus the area of the rectangle. So the total area is 110 inches squared. Alrighty, that is it. Make sure that you review this video, review your study guide, review any notes, especially the things that are harder for you, that were a little bit more confusing. Make sure to review those the most. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you later.